Alright, in the last video I told you about this EProm programmer that I built. And it's one of those things where you build the project, you think it out, you design it, you use it for one thing, and then all of a sudden later on it becomes usable for many other things. But when I built this, I put a lot more into it than I had to. The original article was just a bunch of switches, but I'm thinking, rather than move a bunch of switches for the addresses of the EProm, let me put in a stepper. Let me put in some stepping chips or counter chips. Okay, now right now, this is step up. See, in binary, hopefully the lights are lighting. Okay, that's 0. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. It's in binary. 4, 5. And I could actually read these numbers at one time really fast. Now, to program the chip itself, besides stepping through it and programming, I have the step voltage off, but in other words, you put the switch in the right position, and then you move these switches. Okay, and some of these switches are getting worn out, or not worn out, they're oxidized inside. But in other words, you set it like that. I think this is an A, if I remember correctly. And then you would hit this button here, which would write it into this chip. Okay, and then that was 0 position. Now you go to 1, and then you change your switches. So this would be 0A, and then you hit your step or your program. Boop. Now it's in. Now I want to show you real quick. Take a chip that's been programmed. Now this chip has the R71A program in it for the radio. Okay, now you got that in there. We put these mid position so they're no longer in there. And there's pull-up resistors in there. Let's throw the voltage on. Let's go to home. Okay, notice it's an 8. They're using 8 bits. So when we step through, okay, that's F. That's 1. That's F. And you'll notice there's a 1. When you go through the R71A program, it's very weird. There's a lot of positions that are F's or zeros. But anyway, I could read this chip back. I showed you my headers. And I did a lot of things with this. And I told you, in electronics, it's very important that you stay with something and follow through. Because once you learn one thing, it leads to other things. Now let me turn the voltage off. I'm going to show you inside. I took the screws out. Now, you'd look at this and say, what's inside? Well, you can see that there's switches here. You notice there's a step going to a chip that sends out a pulse, a certain width pulse, in order to write to the chip. And that activates the, in this case, the chips can use 9 volts, 12, or 21. You have to read on them. On the chip it tells you, in this case, this one says on it that it's a 9 volt. That's the program pin. That's another tricky thing. You might have a 2716 chip, but what's the programming pin voltage? Okay, now let me show you the inside of this. Let's get a good view of this. Oh, and all these EPROMs, or all these LEDs, have all been selected for the same brightness. So here's your switches. Here's all your LEDs on a board. I used to call this is vector board, baby blue perf board. And up here are, you can see the pins. It's all wire wrapped. These are 7474s. Okay, and a 7474 has a reset. So in other words, it just counts up, it counts down, and the one switch changes the direction to the 7474. So they'll count up or count down. Very, very simple design. But the original article was just a bunch of switches. All right, and then I started thinking, well, if I'm going to put a chip in there, and when I hit this, and I think it's a 74121 or 123, you can use either one. When you hit this button, it triggers that chip. It goes up. It turns a transistor on, which sends the program voltage over to the chip and burns it in that position. Okay, and it's that simple, but it's not simple. Okay, but in other words, when you first turn this on, this thing comes up random, so you got to go to 0. You can count backwards. Okay, I count forward. It is what it is, okay? And they tell you if you make real, simple, short videos, that more people watch them. So I think that's it. I think that's a short video. I showed you something you probably never seen before. All right, I think that's it.